It's pretty safe to say that despite the diversity of human experience and values, etc., we all share at least one common goal, and that's to live a long, healthy life, enjoying the very best physical, emotional, and intellectual performance possible. But there's more than a few problems interfering with that goal. Problems like COVID-19, diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, cancer, dementia, depression and anxiety, injuries. The list could go on and on. But there's one major problem that you might not have considered. At least I know I had not considered it. The following quote frames that problem perfectly. Quote, "Like most people, you probably wake up, get hungry for meals, and doze off in bed at about the same time every day. If you've ever experienced jet lag or pulled an all-nighter, you know that this schedule can easily be thrown off kilter. But for some people, that imbalance, difficulty sleeping at night, hunger at odd times, or sudden fatigue at noon, is a constant." End quote. In doing some research for a future episode of Better Mind, Better Life, I stumbled across the work of Dr. Sachin Panda, a professor at the Salk Institute for Biological Studies, which is where that quote comes from. Dr. Panda is a circadian biologist, which is a career I didn't even know existed until now. Panda's research focuses on uncovering the biological principles underlying what he calls the, quote, circadian plasticity of the human body, end quote, and using that to reduce the burden of disease and increase healthy lifespans. So how does the circadian clock specifically address the problem of achieving a long, healthy life and enjoying the best physical, emotional, and intellectual performance possible? Dr. Panda says that if we think about an ideal longevity plan, even if it was some sort of pill, it should be so powerful, so magical that it would enable us to prevent diseases from happening, or if we did get sick, it should help us to recover faster and more fully. No, he's not talking about the Matrix. He's talking about the circadian rhythm, which he calls, quote, a longevity code which exists in all of our DNA, end quote. Interesting side note, the word circadian comes from circa, meaning about, and diem, meaning day. So circadian rhythm is about a day's worth of rhythms. And practically every organism in the world has this biological clock. Plants' clocks trigger their leaves to open throughout the day and close during the night. The clocks of nighttime animals promote activity at night and sleep throughout the day. From flowers blooming in spring to monarch butterflies migrating prior to the winter season, biological clocks are responsible for keeping all of life in sync with the rotation of the earth. The cogs of this biological clock are proteins, which are produced and broken down in a cycle that lasts, you guessed it, 24 hours. Dr. Panda says that circadian rhythms are internal timetables present in every single cell in every single organ of our body, including our brains. That's a lot of clocks. Thankfully, there's a specific section of the hypothalamus that's the body's master clock, and it keeps all those other individual cell clocks in sync. That section of the brain gets input directly from light sensors in your eyes, keeping the rest of your body on schedule. Now, Panda discovered how these light sensors work, as well as how cellular timekeepers in other parts of the body function. He even found a blue light sensor in the eye that measures ambient light level and then sets the time for you to go to sleep and wake up every day. In fact, he says that the circadian rhythms are what constitutes the master program that even guides the time of day or night that every single one of our 20,000 genes turns on or off to ensure peak performance. Now that is some serious power and complexity. Panda argues that it's those timely activities in our bodies that helps improve our immune system, accelerate the body's repair mechanisms, optimize our brain function, supercharge our metabolism and our detoxification, and even improve our body's DNA repair system. The problem, he says, is that even though we all have this incredible tool built into our very DNA, we're living out of alignment with our circadian rhythm, and the result is sickness and disease and injury. In a recent talk Dr. Panda gave at TEDx Boston, he shared 6 simple rules to help us get in alignment with our powerful, built-in circadian rhythm. So, hit the pause button, grab something to write with, and jot down these 6 simple rules from Dr. Panda. Rule number 1, 8 hours in bed. Dr. Panda recommends that we try to go to bed at a consistent time and be in bed for 8 hours so that we can get at least 7 hours of restorative sleep. Now, I wear a Fitbit and it monitors my sleep, and I can tell you with depressing certainty that I fail miserably at this. My sleep score is in the fair range, about 99 days out of 100. I can only imagine how much better off I'd be just by getting this rule under control. My goal for 2022 is to move consistently into the good range on my Fitbit. Rule number 2. Avoid eating for at least an hour in the morning after you get up. The reason, says Panda, is that our organs themselves take at least an hour to wake up because that's the time when our night hormones go down and our day hormones go up, and that just takes time. Our bodies aren't fully prepared to properly digest food until that happens. So by avoiding food for at least an hour, we can improve digestion and we can have better control of our blood glucose levels. Now, I typically exercise in the morning before breakfast, so this is already my habit, but I'll need to change this habit because one of the other rules in this list is going to require it. So I'm 0 for 2 so far. Rule number 3, observe time-restricted eating, or what some might call intermittent fasting. Now, according to Panda, this is the most important rule of the 6, and it's at the core of his circadian optimization research at the Salk Institute. He says to eat your breakfast at a consistent time every day because breakfast synchronizes all the circadian rhythms in most of our organs. And then, starting from breakfast, eat all of your meals and drink your beverages for the day within the next 8 to 10 hours for maximum results. So, if you eat breakfast at 8 a.m., stop eating by 6 p.m. In the process of exploring how the liver's daily cycles work, Panda found that mice who eat within a certain amount of time, that 8 to 12 hour range, resulted in slimmer, healthier mice than those who ate the same number of calories in a larger window of time. So, confining our caloric consumption to an 8 to 12 hour period, as people did just a century ago, could, in Panda's words, stave off high cholesterol, diabetes, and obesity, and even give you a better handle on your blood pressure, blood glucose levels, immune system, and a whole lot more. Now for me, late dinners and late night snacking, which is usually things like nuts and granola, is going to make me 0 for 3. Rule number 4, get outside and get 30 minutes of daylight every day. Panda says this applies to cloudy days even. Somehow, being exposed to natural daylight resynchronizes our brain clock. It reduces our depression by elevating our mood, and of course, daylight is the best source of vitamin D. Now, in warm weather, I walk 30 to 45 minutes 3 days a week, so I'm going to give myself half a win for this one, so I'm at least not 0 for 4. Rule number 5, daily exercise in the afternoon. We already know that we should be moving our bodies, exercising every single day. Sedentary lifestyles are killing us all. But the key here, according to Panda, is to do it in the late afternoon or evening when our muscles are most efficient and we're on the lower risk of injury to our joints and ligaments. And apparently, if you have prediabetes or diabetes, exercising in the late afternoon or evening is much more efficient in helping you control blood glucose than doing the same exact exercise in the morning. So, since I do exercise 6 days a week, but I exercise in the morning, I'm giving myself a half a win here also. So that makes me 1 for 5. Yay me. Rule number 6, start winding down 2 to 3 hours before going to bed. This means, according to Dr. Panda, avoid food and start dimming all the lights. Avoiding food for 2 to 3 hours before bedtime improves your overall gut health and digestion and reduces acid reflux, a lesson that I semi-learned the very hard way a couple of years ago. I say semi-learned because of my continued poor habit of late night, light, and relatively healthy snacking. And by dimming the lights, Panda says you actually crank up the production of melatonin, which can help you get into that restorative sleep that we addressed in rule number 1. I do neither of those, so I'm 1 for 6. So there you have it. 6 simple lifestyle rules written by renowned circadian biologist Dr. Sachin Panda that can help you and me live a long, healthy life, enjoying our best physical, emotional, and intellectual performance possible. But it's only if we believe them to be helpful and then commit to following them. Dr. Caroline Leaf says it takes a minimum of 63 days to change an automated habit. I'm determined to improve my embarrassingly low 1 for 6 score. So I plan to work on one rule at a time, 60 days each, over the course of the next year. How about you? After all, remember, a better mind always leads to a better life.